On May 31, 2014, a sleepover between 12-year-old girls ended in an unspeakable horror. The incident took place in Waukesha, Wisconsin, where Morgan Geyser, aided by her friend Anissa Weier, stabbed their classmate Peyton Lutner 19 times. The victim barely managed to crawl away to seek help. Upon arrest, the underage attackers told police they had committed the crime to appease the Slender Man, a fictional internet-born boogeyman. This character was invented on an internet forum, but no one could have imagined that a playful joke would lead to such horrific consequences. The forum had launched a contest challenging participants to use photo editing software to add supernatural and frightening elements to ordinary pictures. On June 10, 2009, a user under the pseudonym Victor Surge submitted 2 black and white photo manipulations as part of the competition. These images depicted a fictional creature stalking children, a tall, faceless figure in a suit. The entity was dubbed the Slender Man, and the photos bore eerie captions: "We didn't want to go, we didn't want to kill them. But his persistent silence and outstretched arms left us no choice." 1983, photographer unknown, presumed dead. What began as an innocent creepypasta contest soon spiraled into a real-world nightmare, proving how dangerously fiction can blur with reality. One of only 2 photographs recovered from the Sterling City Library fire. Notable for its date, coinciding with the disappearance of 14 children, and the entity now known as the Slender Man, authorities attribute the distorted proportions to film defects. The library burned down 1 week later. Both photographs were confiscated as evidence. 1986, photographer, Mary Thomas, missing since June 13, 1986. A chilling documented sighting that fuels the Slenderman mythos. The deliberate ambiguity between film defect and supernatural horror makes it all the more unsettling. The Slenderman photos caused a sensation on the forum. Their creator, Victor Surge, continued expanding the myth, adding more images, fake police reports, and even children's drawings. Other forum users quickly joined in, posting their own edited photos and crafting elaborate stories about the entity. Soon, the phenomenon spilled beyond the forum. The internet became obsessed with this eerie figure. People began scrutinizing their own photos for strange anomalies, convinced they'd captured the Slender Man. Of course, most were just lens flares, shadows, or film defects, but mass hysteria reinterpreted them as evidence. The frenzy was fueled by a flood of staged photos and fabricated encounters. What started as a creative writing exercise morphed into a full-blown digital legend, one that would eventually seep into the real world with terrifying consequences. Soon, the web series Marble Hornets emerged in the horror genre, building upon the fictional mythos of the Slender Man. The creators devised a distinct visual identity for the entity and imbued it with specific traits. The core concept was that the Slender Man is a malevolent, otherworldly force that appears without explanation, primarily targeting children. The Slenderman stalks his victims from a distance, gradually exerting control over their minds, turning them into puppets. Under his influence, people commit horrific acts, murder, suicide, or inflicting pain on others. The series introduced symptoms of his influence: paranoia, nosebleeds, and distorted memories. Appearance and traits: a towering, pale figure with unnaturally elongated, contorted limbs. Sometimes depicted with black tendrils or appendages sprouting from his back. Completely faceless. Early edits showed hollow eye sockets, but later iterations removed all facial features. Dressed in a funeral-style black suit with a white shirt. His most terrifying quality is his unpredictability. His origins, motives, and end goals remain unknown. There is no escape. Once chosen, a victim's life becomes a nightmare of psychological torment before they vanish without a trace. Signature behaviors: peering through windows at night, regardless of floor level. Tapping on glass to unsettle his targets. The dangerous spread of the myth. The vivid lore proved especially harmful to impressionable minds, particularly children. Online communities flooded with sightings, blurring the line between fiction and reality. Despite its openly fictional origins, the Slenderman developed a cult following. Fan culture exploded. Countless photoshopped images, videos, and amateur films. Self-proclaimed researchers documenting encounters. A subset of believers insisting he's real, despite evidence to the contrary. Real-world consequences: the 2014 Waukesha stabbing was tragically not an isolated incident. 2014, Ohio, a 13-year-old girl stabbed her mother, later citing the Slender Man's influence. September 2014, a 14-year-old set her house on fire with her family inside after obsessing over Slenderman lore. 2015, a sharp rise in teen suicide attempts linked to Slenderman fascination. The unsettling question: could a purely fictional creation become real through collective belief? The human mind is capable of warping perception, and in the digital age, myths gain terrifying power.